Oh, it's on. Welcome back to the Deep Dive podcast, the only explainer hosted by a German shepherd who has walked more beaches in Japan than most travel journalists. I'm Maple. 4 legs, zero tolerance for fake luxury, maximum tolerance for actual sushi. Today, we're talking about what happens when Ritz-Carlton looks at the Pacific Ocean and says, what if a 5-star hotel, but it floats, and then charges you $35,000 to find out? So buckle up, or don't. You're on a super yacht, someone else buckles things for you.
Let's just rip the Band-Aid right off and look at that staggering number. $35,000 per person. That's exactly what a reviewer and his mother paid for a 10-night sailing through southern Japan on the Luminara during peak cherry blossom season. And yes, people really do pay that. The Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection's newest vessel launched in 2025 as the 3rd ship in their fleet. It was built in France, flagged in Malta, and aimed directly at people whose very first reaction to hearing $35,000 per person is, wait, is that all-inclusive?
So where exactly does that kind of money take you? The Japan itinerary sails round-trip from Tokyo, hitting Osaka, Hiroshima, Fukuoka, Busan, Sasebo, and Kagoshima over 10 nights. That's right, you're floating past some of humanity's absolute most extraordinary culture and history, all from the deck of the ship that literally has a Cartier boutique on board. Because, nothing says authentic Japan quite like buying a luxury watch somewhere between ports.
Let's talk ship specs, because this thing is genuinely impressive, even if I kind of resent it for existing. The Luminara carries 452 passengers with 374 crew members. That is nearly 1 crew member per guest. For context, I have 1 human, and I still have to remind him it's dinner time by staring at him for 45 solid minutes. Progress, right? All 228 suites have private balconies. The upper suites clock in at a massive 1,076 square feet. For reference, that is literally larger than most apartments people reading this actually live in. You've got 7 bars, 11 spa treatment rooms, marina access with electric hydrofoil boards and Seabob scooters, a pool, 2 hot tubs, and retail outlets including Cartier, IWC, and Paget, because obviously what you desperately need on a floating hotel is a $50,000 watch.
The whole experience is intentionally elevated right from the start. When you show up at the Tokyo cruise terminal, there is no wandering around trying to find the check-in desk. Nope. You're met by a porter and a dedicated ambassador who handle the entire process. They literally walk you under an umbrella if it's raining, escort you to the gangway, and immediately hand you a glass of champagne and a caviar blini. It sets a ridiculously high bar right at the front door.
And this is where you'll go to recover from all that caviar. The Grand Suite is considered a mid-tier cabin, but it still gives you about 600 square feet of interior space. We're talking walk-in closets, massive TVs, and super intuitive lighting controls. You can have the beds configured as a king or 2 twins, and honestly, the whole thing feels way closer to a high-end land-based hotel room than your typical cramped cruise cabin.
What's really fascinating here is the genuinely residential layout. You walk in through a proper hallway that opens up into a dining area, complete with a 4-seat table and gorgeous floral arrangements that are replenished every single day. The living room and bedroom even have retractable doors, which means you can actually close off the spaces to create totally distinct private living zones. It just flows perfectly.
The bathroom design is basically a masterclass in functionality. You've got a separate powder room off the entry hall that connects right through to the main bath. So, practically speaking, someone can use the powder room while another person is soaking in the tub or using the separate shower. Add in those ultra-high-end DepDiv and Bulgari amenities, and you have some very serious luxury baked right into your daily routine.
But stepping outside reveals one of the absolute biggest perks of this entire ship. Every single suite on the Luminara features a private balcony, and the Grand Suite gives you a massive 95 square feet to stretch out on. Just imagine lounging out here on a sea day, sipping your morning coffee while floating right past a highly dramatic active volcano like Sakurajima and Kagoshima. It is an undeniably spectacular way to see the world. But true premium service isn't just about marble bathtubs and nice soap. It is about polished, almost unbelievable logistics. The crew greets you by name from day one because they literally study your photos before you even board. But here is the ultimate jaw-dropping anecdote. A reviewer's mother accidentally left her phone in a port taxi. Instead of it just being gone forever, the crew somehow tracked down the local driver and miraculously returned the phone to the ship shortly after. I mean, that level of dedication is exactly how they anchor that eye-watering price tag.
Dining is where things get really serious. There are 5 diverse venues on board, including 2 spaces shaped by Michelin-starred chefs. You've got Fabio Trabocchi doing an 8-course Italian tasting menu, and Michael Mina running a Middle Eastern Mediterranean concept. There is also a Pan-Asian venue called Haesubit, which is intelligently designed around the Japan, Vietnam, Korea, and Thailand ports. Super smart, totally appropriate, but it still costs more per bite than a month of my premium kibble. But the flexibility is incredible. If you ask nicely, the kitchen will literally whip up off-menu requests, like perfectly fluffy Japanese souffle pancakes for breakfast.
Now, we absolutely have to lean into the dark humor of the economics here. You literally just paid $35,000 to get on this boat. 4 of these rotating menu restaurants are completely included in that fare. But if you want to eat at Chef Fabio Trabocchi's Seta su Luminara, yeah, that's going to be an extra $300 surcharge per person. And that's before you even look at the wine pairings. Though to be fair, reviewers noted the included food was so exceptionally strong, you didn't even really need to hit the surcharge venue.
Here is my main criticism: the excursions. Multiple passengers flagged that the shore excursions are egregiously overpriced. One review literally called it deliberate price gouging. You have a ship this exclusive, charging these kinds of premium prices, and guests are getting nickel and dimed the second they step on land? That right there highlights the gap between luxury and theater. Real luxury is completely seamless. Theater is when you charge $35K just to board and then hand someone a laminated menu for an overpriced bus tour at the gangplank. So what's the workaround? Independent planning is often so much better. For instance, one group of 6 passengers bypassed the ship's offerings in Busan entirely. They hired their own private guide and driver for around $3,000 total. They hit up a dramatic seaside temple and sat down for a premium Hanwoo beef lunch, which is basically Korea's highest quality cattle. It just proves that even on an ultra-luxury cruise, taking the logistics into your own hands can deliver massive value and a way better experience.
Real quick, if this explainer made you feel 2 things simultaneously, like, wow, I really want to go to Japan, and wow, I deeply resent rich people, that means we are doing our job. The absolute least you owe us is a subscription. The cost? 0 yen. Not even a Cartier bracelet required. Leave a review, tell a friend, post us somewhere. My producer FireflyHaku measures success in downloads, and I measure it in treats. We are deeply linked. So subscribe now. So that brings us to the ultimate question. Is a $35,000 floating boutique hotel actually worth the price? At this tier, the Luminara isn't just competing with other cruise ships, it is competing with the absolute top tier of land-based travel. Think a Singita Safari or a Journey on the Orient Express. For a lot of reviewers, the flawless service, the stunning suites, and the sheer magic of cherry blossom season aligned perfectly to justify that immense cost. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For the right traveler, someone who genuinely wants to see Japan without the logistics, the crowds, or the existential chaos of Shinjuku Station during rush hour, this product absolutely delivers. The service ratio is extraordinary. The itinerary is well curated. The ship is legitimately beautiful. And Japan, even seen from a super yacht, is still Japan. The question isn't whether Luminara is good. The question is whether you can do Japan better, deeper, and more authentically for 35 grand a person by just going to Japan. The answer is yes. But you wouldn't have a private balcony while watching Sakurajima smoke. Trade-offs, baby. That's a wrap on the Luminara explainer. If you learned something, wonderful. If you're now quietly Googling the Tokyo round-trip itinerary pricing, I understand. No judgment. A massive 4-pod standing ovation for my producer, FireflyHaku, who indeed is a first-class producer. 0 private balcony, maximum impact. To my loyal listeners, Japan is real. $35,000 is very real. This podcast is also real. And if you ever actually book this cruise, please take me.